Hey, how's it going, guys? Domino Paris 21 here, and back from BCS Rosemont. Man, oh man, what a weekend it was. I have to say, I'm definitely not the young card fighters I once was. I'm an old man now, practically. I'm an unk now, as some of the local guys like to call me. But no longer can I run around regionals on 3 hours of sleep 2 days in a row and like 2 cans of Monster running in my blood and still be good after the weekend. Like I definitely do have to do a lot more physical preparation and get some adequate rest afterwards to kind of recover. But nonetheless, I still feel good. I feel great. And as you see here from my post over the weekend and right here, I was finally able to achieve the one thing that I've always wanted to do all these years being in the game, and that is make a top cut at regionals. Now, it is a top 32 cut now compared to top 8 before, but I'm very at least happy and proud to say that I came in 7th place after Swiss. So if it was the old school days of top 8 only, I still was able to make the cut. So that's something that I can really take away from all this as an OG old school player. Now, I think the tournament overall had like 480 to 500 people. We were actually overcapacitated. That there was people on the waiting list that couldn't get in. So I do feel bad for those people who couldn't, get in and participate. But that's why I try to be well prepared in advance. And usually I think about a month prior to the regionals in the Bushi Navi app, you actually can register yourself. So I definitely recommend to people register as early as you can. Don't wait till last minute. I always recommend that. But nonetheless, the event went very well, as you see. Had a great time and was able to, just had a really good time spending with my friends, seeing some new faces, old faces, and some faces that I never got a chance to see despite, being friends online many years. Definitely had some shout outs to make. There were some VTubers, I jokingly say, but Vanguard tubers there that I was able to meet, and there were some that I missed out on. I feel kind of bad. The rounds were going very quickly. It was like 30-minute rounds, and they were really pushing along with the rounds. Like I think there was barely 5 minutes between rounds before they started the next one, and no complaints on my end. I was really happy. I was very happy and impressed by how smoothly things were going. That I really don't have complaints on that end. I just wish I had a little bit more time to really, settle in and get a chance to to meet more people. But, perhaps we can plan ahead at future events in the future. So about my experience in the tournament, I actually had notes on my matchups, but it was so easy to remember. I could just tell you off the top of my head. So rounds 1, 2, and 3, I played against Odium. And I was well prepared for the Odium matchup. That was like the one matchup I prepared a lot for and play tested a lot for in advance with David of I Am Vanguard, especially, and some other people or locals who, Odium's very popular in my locals. But I was able to win games 1, 2, and 3 pretty convincingly. It was clean games on both ends for me, my opponent. But I think Levidras just, they prevail in that matchup for the most part as long as things, go as planned. So I was able to win those 3 rounds convincingly. Rounds 4 and 5 was the Levy Mirror. And believe it or not, that was my very first time playing the Levy Mirror. Because although we talked about it in theory, but because with some of my friends, but because I wasn't in the shop these past like 3 to 4 weeks prior to Rosemont, I never got a chance to actually play the mirror. So, I kind of just went about with what we were theorizing and talking about. But I definitely learned a lot playing those games. Just about how to handle the mirror, and fortunately for me, I was able to win both rounds, 4th and 5th round. So the 4th round, again, good clean game, and I think my opponent, if I recall, my opponent for round 4, he missed on his regular levy, so he was short 1 marker compared to me. So I have to say I drew a little bit better than he did. I definitely drew a little bit better than he did, like early on. I think he was able to hit triggers a little bit better leading up to the late game, but I think me opening up stronger and having a better push early on put me in a much better position to close out the game when I needed to. So it was a really good fun back and forth, and I think that was the closest I've gotten to time all day. throughout the tournament. So that was like one thing I was scared about playing Levy going into it, and why some of my friends, in their opinions, they said, it could be like a trap deck if you're not fully if you don't have a good fully understanding on how to really play this deck, because Levidras can be a very grindy deck, but unfortunately, because of the regionals format and the 30 minutes, you really have to kind of play at a good pace to where you can close out the game before time. Because I never want my game outcomes to be decided for time. That's the one thing I was very scared of coming in. So if that's really the worst of it, I feel very confident throughout the whole day. So I think after that round four, I felt fully confident throughout the whole day, and I wasn't really worried about anything else because I think that was the one thing I was scared of. Round five, and of course, like I said, I did play the Levy Mirror again. And one thing I always say when it comes to regionals throughout 7 rounds, you probably would need to have that one round where like luck was in your favor and the game pretty much hands you the win. I say, you still have to play a good clean game up to that point, but everyone has to get lucky at least one time, I think, because variance happens, and eventually variance will come back to collect its taxes from you. So you're gonna have to try and take advantage of any good variance that you can. So that's exactly what happened in round five. It was a good, clean game again from both me and my opponents. Again, I kind of fell behind early on with my opponent, critting me early, and then he damage checked an OT, I think around mid game to kind of like stay at 3 damage. So he was still at a good, comfortable cushion. So I kind of had to like play a little bit from behind on him, kind of like making his pushback to me after that. But then late game, he had me in the corner. I hit a miracle 6 damage heal to survive the turn. And I think he was at 4 damage at the time for my following turn. And then I was able to hit the OT for game, basically. I put it on the grade 1 squirrel, the 100 million, and then I just swung twice with it. And yeah, unfortunately, he couldn't do anything about it. And I remember when I flipped the OT, he had that look in his face like, like, damn, man, like, that's it. And, like, we take those games, of course, but there's nothing to take away from my opponent. I mean, he had that game, he would have won, but, I still give credit to my opponent for just being a good sport about it. We shook hands, we talked about it. We both acknowledged that, we got lucky at some points, and I even said, hey, I got really lucky there, but, I had to have that one. But we all have to have that one game. So, but he was a really good sport about it. But yeah, so I was 5-0 up to that point. And then the 6th round, I played against Odium again. So, I guess those are the only 2 decks in this game, I guess. But I played against Odium. And, of course, because of my good luck in round 5, round 6 was, like, again, the variance collecting its taxes. So, there's really not much to say. Like, Poen's a really good guy, good player, and he high rolled and I low rolled, as in I bricked. Couldn't really hit a lot of good triggers, and he had everything he needed for Odium and was able to hit triggers consistently every turn. And although I tried, it was like, I always feel like in these losses I have, I'm always like 1 turn short. If I can just survive another turn, I can really make a good push. But I try to hang in there as long as possible. I mean, honestly, Levidras is really good at like keeping you afloat in the game despite having, bad variants that went on. But just things didn't happen in the end. But, my opponents, did say like he did high roll pretty well. So, I didn't really have much to say because of the luck I had the previous round. But I was 5-1 at that point, and then we led to the final round. So although it's still possible to make top 32 as an X2, I still wanted to make sure I was X1. Although technically I don't know, like the Bushiroad system is so weird because you would think that if you're 5-0 and then you lose the next 2 games, you should be good to make it. But I don't think there's any guarantee because the Bushiroad software, I don't know if it really, I don't know. I feel like it doesn't run the same as other softwares because of certain categories or such that they kind of track compared to like other software, but I'm not going to get into that. But nonetheless, I played against a Varga player, and really good guy. He said it was his first regionals he attended, and I mean, dang man, he ran pretty well for his first regionals, right? Playing Varga. But with Varga, I felt very confident in it because I played when I was coming back into the game like 6 months ago. Like Varga was a deck I picked up Varga is pretty popular in my locals, and Varga was also my other choice. I was considering to play instead of Levidras, so I also tested Varga a bit too. So that is the one matchup that I knew coming into it, like into the tourney. I say if I face Vargas all day, not only am I confident in how I play against it, I feel like Levy, can compete with Varga very well, but also me as a player, because I'm so familiar with that deck in and out, I understand all the tendencies, that deck has. I feel very confident in how I play the matchup. So everything, again, I don't know what it is, but I fell behind early on because the typical Vargo opponents I always have, they always crit at the right time. So I went from like 1 to 3, healed 1, and then I got critted again to go from 2 to 4. So I was already kind of behind, and I had to deal with the divine skill from his Rakshasa. But I made sure to play around it properly. I didn't really give him any field to get any value from, and I was able to just load up his board with markers to get ready for the divine skill. And it actually worked out because obviously my opponent, had a good understanding of dealing with Levy, but he pretty much left markers open on his board and didn't allow me the chance to draw. So although he did save himself from allowing me to draw, that also saved me from having to guard his attacks. And my guard wise, my hand was pretty paper. It was pretty much paper. It wasn't great, but I had just enough to hold out. And I think the turning point in that game was two things. One, he burned a lot of his he one while he was at 4 damage, he stayed there, and I went to 5. I put myself at 5, and he burned all his counterblast up to 4 damage, and he guarded so there was that. So I was able to counterblast lock him for about a good like 2 to 3 turns. So where like he can only attack with his Vanguard only because again I had markers on his rear guards that he didn't want to activate, so it was only 1 attack per turn. And also once he guarded with an over trigger, I breathed a sigh of relief because I felt that as long as he doesn't hit the over trigger, I have the game. I think I have the game locked down because I was slowly building up my markers, because since he was leaving his markers on his board, I was able to kind of slowly build up markers on my own to then prepare for a big push. So I was able to kind of keep him at 4, counterblast deny him for a few turns, and then wearing out his hand defensively. And then funny enough, he was actually getting close to deck out as well, ahead of me. So I felt I had the game locked down at that point. And of course, like I said, him guarding with the OT was kind of like the icing on the cake to kind of solidify that I don't have to worry about like some miracle OT or anything like that. So I was able to win the game convincingly, but I have to say that was probably like the funnest game I had all day, just because I finally played a different deck outside of Levy and ODM, and my opponent was just really cool. I enjoyed talking to him, and he was a really good sport, of course, but I had a great time. So I was very excited, when I won that match because I knew I had top 32 locked in, but I was even more excited when I saw that I came in 7th place after Swiss. So it was a real top 8, I guess you can say. Not that like making top 32 doesn't mean anything, it means the same, but it's more like, again, being an old school player, just making top 8, at least I can say that for myself, for me personally, I'm very, very happy about that. So I'm going to go ahead and go over the deck real quick for you guys. I'm going to definitely tell you guys, man, this is going to be the most original deck that you'll ever see for Levidras. I'm just kidding. It's gonna be pretty cookie cutter. It's probably why I didn't really bother making a deck profile sooner, because I mean, if you've seen one Levidras, you've probably seen it all. There's some differences would be like some ratios. There are some tech cards you could play, but for the most part, like most people's decks are gonna look the same. And my top 32 match. All right, I already talked about it with you guys. It was a Levy mirror, and just a little bit bad luck on me or on my side early on, but a good clean game throughout. And give credit to my opponent for winning out that game. I just need that 1 extra turn, to continue on. But who knows? Maybe next time, right? So let's go ahead through the deck real quick. As you saw with the Rhine line, there's nothing crazy here. Gotta always run that. And then we run the triple. Actually, I'll lay it out like this. We're going to run out the triple Levy Empireo, or King Levy as I like to call them. The 4 original Levy, 4 Charmet, Charmnet. So 4 of these. The 4 of the Anotagaster Onfall. I don't know. See, I top with these cards and I don't even know how to pronounce their names. So 4 of those, of course. I feel like this was a very key card that made a huge difference on the outcomes of my games, because in my top 32 cut game and my 5th round game, I couldn't get this card early enough, or I couldn't get this card in at all. And especially my mirror match in top 32, I couldn't see this card at all. I feel like in the mirror match, this card makes a huge difference on, how your game would go. So he's very, very important. The 4 Huli, the 4 Dual Nations, definitely she is what carries a lot of the expense of this deck. There are alternatives you can play if you're more budget. So I can't really say that she's like the most optimal card to play in the deck. Like I've seen people even cut her down to like 2 to run other tech choices or to increase ratio somewhere else. I just stuck with the 4 because I already had the 4, and I figured in a best of 1 format, just having that play, if you can just discard your Charmnet to ride, and then going with your Dual Nation to call it out to go 3 wide with some quality attacks, and just already have her on the field ready to take advantage of her skill, I thought was huge. Also too, like late game scenarios, I was able to kind of use her to, to fish the top card of the deck and just continue calling out your Onfall. Your Onfall is definitely like, other than like your Vanguard, like he's probably the most important rearguard in the deck, because he allows you to like compress your deck and allows good deck flow and an easy way to enable that 1 extra attack. So I just like having the 8 cards that can fetch him from the drop. And especially if I'm facing decks like Odium that likes to retire your stuff a lot, Varga that can board wipe you, I just like having an insurance policy to continuously have a play every single turn. So I like maxing out on this. I was running the Mythiarch at one point. Let me see if I can find it again. Here it is. So I was, prior to Rosemont, when I was testing, I did run 1 Mythiarch, and I pretty much cut 1 Dual Nation for that. And if I had to go back and make 1 change, I probably may have ran the 1 again, because in those games that I mentioned where I kind of bricked, as in I couldn't get maybe 1 key piece or so, I did hold a few Dual Nation cards in my hand. So I was just thinking in my head, if this was a Mythiarch, probably I could have had that 1 out to try and fetch a key piece. I think the reason why I cut it off last minute is because I don't know. This is confirmation bias, of course. So, just because this happened to me doesn't mean it'll happen for you. But I think what was happening was that either I didn't need to use it at times, because like if I already was in control of the game, I didn't really need to use this. So it was kind of like a useless card for me, and I'd rather it be like something else, like like a 4th Dual Nation card, just to continue like guaranteed plays. Or I didn't want to like mess up my top decks that I set up with my Onfall. Like if I end up grabbing this from Onfall and I didn't want to like shuffle my deck because because maybe I put like a trigger on top. But there are times though, and there are times where if I check top 7, I didn't really get a useful card that I want. Like there are times where like I get triggers, a bunch of 1s that I don't need, like maybe a 1 I don't need, a perfect card, and then I'll get like a Dual Nation card, which she doesn't actually activate when placed from like the deck. You have to place her from hand. So there are times I did hit some misses with this card, but there are also times, like as an insurance policy, like in those cases where you brick and you need a key card, this can kind of maybe try to possibly get you out of that. So I may end up putting this back in the deck for that reason, but not more than 1. I actually tried more than 1 before, and I did not like it at all. For some people it worked. For me, I didn't like it. So at the very least, I may put in 1 and cut 1 of the Dual Nations probably to do just that. But like I said, I just like having the 8, like drop zone retrieval cards just to keep the flow of the deck going. So there's that. Let me make some real estate in here. Boom, 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 boom. And then the last of the Great Twos, I did run the Twin Cast. I think Twin Cast, in my opinion, is the best card for this deck. Because, Bracing Angel Ladder, you don't really care about your rear guards getting retired, and Binding is not really prominent right now in today's meta. So Twin Cast is just really good for defensive purposes. Easy defense, it's good discard target, and it definitely came in clutch in some of my games on conserving my hand a little bit more. So Twin Cast, I think, is a must, in my opinion. You have your 4 perfect guards with the Sanctitude. Sanctitude now more than ever is very important because of Odium, which, I played so many Odiums on Saturday. And then for grade 1s, we have the 3 and 3 with the special Vanguard booster, the Foxel, and 3 Squirrel. I call him Squirrel. So previously, I think I ran like 4 Foxel and 2 Squirrel. But I think because of how important he is for making your max potential in the deck, you need to see him. You just need to see him as consistently as possible. So having 3, I felt just kind of guaranteed, or maybe not guaranteed, but it just greatly increases my chances of seeing him game to game, and because for how important he is. And realistically, you only need the 3 Foxel. I found 3 Foxel was fine because, again, you can always call him out from the drop zone with your Huli. And so you kind of have that. And then really, like, in this meta, they're still retiring, of course, like with Odium, but it's still not as common that you're going to have to worry about your Foxel being destroyed and not having another one to call. And there's even times where, even if I don't have the Foxel, if I have the Squirrel, although he can't attack from back row, I can still make 2 quality attacks. I could just still move him around as a booster and make 2 quality attacks. And as long as you have your on full, you'll still enable your 4th attack. So I didn't feel it as essential to remain at 4. And as you see, deck space is pretty tight, as is. But yeah, like I said, very cookie cutter deck. Oh, and triggers, it's really nothing crazy. Just, 8 crit, 3 fronts, 4 heal, just basic heals, and the OT. Just regular Stoic OT. So yeah, so as you see here, just honestly, like, me as a player, I've always loved and appreciate like cookie cutter decks that are simple, because I don't have to worry too much about the build necessarily itself. Just have to worry about ratios, maybe some key tech cards I want to try out. There are some things I may want to try out later, but I just wanted to go in with something that is simple, straightforward, and can allow me just to focus on the fundamentals of the deck rather than like the deck build. So that's something I always love and appreciate with decks like this. So before we end it here, I want to definitely give some shout outs to some people out there. So first I want to give a shout out to Sean of Winning Image. He was a longtime subscriber of mine that over the years I made good friends with, and we even did a panel. He invited me for a panel, online card fight con, years ago. But he's a really good friend of mine, and definitely check out his channel because he's trying to do a comeback into the game himself with premium vendors. I got a chance to play against him, and he is planning to attend more events. We're gonna meet up with each other and finally get some more games in. So hold me to that. I promise I will. So shout outs to Sean for Winning Image, like I said. Shout outs to my good buddy David of I Am Vanguard. He's like my best friend with the game and in life. But he is the main reason why I came back into this game after a while. After finally pushing me all these years to kind of come back. So I wouldn't be in this position without him and all the playtesting we've done with his Odium. Definitely big shout outs to Commander Jaime. I've definitely been a long time viewer of his over the years, and I'm very happy, to finally got a chance to meet him. We actually did a panel together as well. But yeah, we've definitely been we've grown well acquainted for a little bit of time now, and congratulations to him for making top cut in premium the following day. So definitely congratulations to him. Definitely check out his content for that. And then just a shout out to Outer Orange. Although again, between rounds we didn't get a chance to like really have a conversation and interact too much because although I love how quick the rounds were going, to get everything done with, just not a lot of time to go around and meet people. But I was able to at least say hi to her. And although we never of course, a shout outs to Fuzzy Paradox. He is the man himself, who I think is continually carrying the Vanguard community as far as the meta space, deck, the informative space is concerned with his website VG Paradox. It is it's so amazing that we have a very easy, accessible source of information for deck lists for people that could be very informative and helpful. We don't have to rely on just deck profiles from random YouTubers now. We can now use YouTubers as supplementary information or conversational information. But if you just want some straightforward information on some deck lists, check out the website, VG Paradox. Fuzzy himself is the one who created it. He's the man, and great guy as well. And definitely want to give a shout out to Deck Flare. I never got a chance to like meet with him. I think I did see him because one of my friends pointed him out, but because again the rounds were moving so rapidly, I never got a chance to really go up and say hi. And I maybe could have like ran over and say, hey, it's like, hey, what's going on, and then run away. But I don't know. I think that's kind of like rude to do, because I definitely would like to have a conversation, or something like that with them. But Deck Flare, if you're watching this, be sure. I mean, you can message me in advance if you're going to an event, and then we can try and meet up and such. Because because for events, I try to like actually arrive a day in advance. For the most part, unless it's like something more local to me, but that's usually like New York or like Philadelphia, sort of. But nonetheless, I definitely want to get a chance to meet you. I mean, we can even meet online, have a chat online, do a collab or something like that. That's no problem at all. But definitely shout outs to him. And let me think. Shout outs to some of my long-term, and I want to give a shout out to like all you guys, my subscribers. Like, you guys keep me motivated to play. I mean, I wouldn't even be in this position to hold this and to you guys, if you guys weren't around to even show support for me. It was very relieving, emotional, and just very happy. A really great feeling of joy just to see the amount of support that people were messaging me about, just congratulating me on this. It just shows that like, I could be away for a while, but there's always going to be guys out there that will continue, showing support. Definitely shout out to Nick. You guys, you know who you are, for just, messaging me congratulations. Shout outs to, I think, Spartan Trigger. He was actually conversing with me in the community post about it. If you want to do a collab, let me know. I'm more than happy to talk about my experience with you if you like. But just, all my longtime subscribers. And shout outs to my buddy Mustafa from New York. He actually made top 16 himself. So that was pretty amazing. But yeah, just really, really great time at Rosemont. I do plan on going to more events if I can. But yeah, just glad to be back with things and just have another great story from another great weekend. But thanks you guys for watching. If you guys were there at Rosemont, feel free to comment down below, share your experiences. I would love to hear about it. And that's it from me. I'll see you guys later.